All right, kiddos. So I'm here to try to help you out and understand how to solve these problems that we were working on in class. We're not going to spend any more time really working on these problems. The hope is that as we see problems like this, you continue to practice, ask questions, and get help. So let's go to the first problem. We did this one in class, but again, I'm just going to repeat it. The goal here is to end it up with y equals, and to be more specific, y equals mx plus b. So what we want to start doing is trying to isolate the y variable. We do that by getting rid of everything further away and then closer, and then hopefully we get y by itself. So we got to get rid of this 3x first. We're going to do it like this, minus 3x. If we do it to one side, we got to do it to the other side. This over here creates a 0, and we're left with 5y. And again, I rearrange it to negative 3x plus 15. I want this portion to look like this portion. Now I have 5y, but I only want 1y. If you remember, you divide by 5. That turns this into a giant 1, which brings us to a singular y. We divide everything else by 5 because that's the rule. You do something, you do it to everything. So we end up with negative 3 over 5x plus 3. This can't be reduced, so we leave it. This can be reduced, so we reduce it. The slope is the m value, which is right here. So we know that. So the slope has to do with the question prior. The slope ends up being negative 3 over 5. For the computer, you'd have to turn that into negative 0.6. But this is the one we want because it's what we're going to focus on moving forward. Then we got to look at our y-intercept, which is that b value all the way at the end, which was plus 3. So that means our y-intercept, the line would cross, if this is here, the line would cross at 1, 2, 3. We know that point. And that's why we care about the y-intercept. All right, moving forward. Same thing. Now in this one, we have y on the left, y on the right. If you have the same variable that you're looking for on both sides or the same variable on both sides, it's just helpful to get rid of the variable on one of the sides of the equation. In this case, we have two y's. We want to get rid of the smaller y. I think it's always helpful to get rid of the smaller variable. So we got that 2. To get rid of a negative 2, we do a negative 2y. It's a 0. We do a negative 2y over here. We end up with 1 equals y minus 5x. I want y by itself, so I need to get rid of this 5x. So I do a plus 5x to get rid of a negative 5x, turn it into a 0, and I end up with 5x plus 1. And that's equals y, so I can just call that 5x plus 1. Again, I'm going to have my slope here, my y-intercept here. So going to the next page, I can answer, 1. The slope of the last problem was 5. And the y-intercept of the last problem was 1. I think. Kind of forget. Cool. All right. So moving on. We have variables on both sides. We have a 4x and a 2x. I think we need to get rid of the smaller one. So we start with that. We're going to take away 2x here, minus 2x here. This becomes 0. So we're left with 0 on the right side. That's going to come out to 2x minus 1 and then negative 5y. Now we want the y's to be on the other side. We can either move all of this over or we can just get rid of the 5y's here and it will pop up on this side, which would make it look like this. Plus 5y gets rid of it on this side and it brings it over to this side. So now we have 5y equals 2x plus 1. We want just 1y. So again, we're going to divide by 5. That leaves us with y by turning this into a 1. Divide everything else by 5. You get 2/5 x plus 1 over 5. So now again, we have our slope, y-intercept. So we can answer the question. This should be 2/5. Put it into your computer. This would be 0.4. You can use a calculator. And this should be 1/5. We try, and this becomes 0.2. All right, continuing on. On this one, we have the same variable, but it's on the same side. So before we do anything, we have to resolve this. This is a group of x tiles. We have +3 and -6. We want to bring that down to -3x. 3 plus -6 equals -3. That's kind of the math here. And then we got +5y, and then we have 2. So now we're back to a problem similar to the one at the beginning. We want to get it down to y equals. So we got to get rid of what's furthest away first, and then what's next to it. So we got to get rid of this -3x. We add 3x, turn it into a 0, add 3x over here. So now we want 1y. And again, we're going to divide by 5. Here we go. Divide by 5, divide by 5. And if we just remember, it's y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to put this x value first, and that's going to be 3/5x plus 2/5. Again, slope, intercept. Yeah. So our slope becomes 3/5, which equals 0.6. And our y-intercept is 2/5, sweet, which equals 0.4. Alrighty, so moving on. This one is pretty straightforward. We have a y value, then we have an x value and a 4. So we want to keep this y over here and get rid of this 5x and this 4. We're going to do that in one move. So I'm going to take away 4 here, go away. And I'm going to bring -4 over here. I'm going to take away 5x here by adding 5x. So I'm going to do plus 5x. So I'm left with 4y on the left. 1 minus 4 is -3 and 5x. I want just 1y, so I have to divide by 4. If I do it to one side, I do it to everything. So I end up with y, because this is a giant 1. And then again, 5/4x plus -3/4. I do apologize, that does make it confusing. But it could have just been -3/4. Same thing. All right, so again, slope, intercept. The next slide. Slope is 5/4, which equals 1.2. And intercept is 3/4 negative, equals -0.6. Okay, couple more. We're almost there. This last problem, we don't have an equal sign. So we don't know what to do. We can't move stuff around because you can't do it to one side and then do it to the other. You can't just start adding stuff. The only thing we haven't talked about this is what happens when we don't have an equal sign. We add one. I'm going to undo that because I don't like blue. I like black. Here we go. And we're going to say that it's equal to 0. Okay? Anything can be equal to nothing because it's not equal to anything. So this statement reads as this was not equal to anything because there was no equal sign. But by adding a 0, we can now draw our line down the middle and solve to leave us with y equals. We already have y, so now we just got to move over the -4x or get rid of it, and the 5. We're going to do that again in one move. Plus 4x makes that a 0, and we're going to do a plus 4x over here. -5 makes that a 0, -5, and then we have 4x minus 5, which then would easily let us answer the question. Going back here, remember slope, intercept. This is negative 5. What is the slope? So we're going to call this slope of 4 and y-intercept of negative 5. So again, this was kind of quick. You can use this as a reference as to how to solve equations from standard form to slope-intercept form. If you have any questions, please ask. Otherwise, hopefully this helps, and we'll see you tomorrow in class when we work through how to deal with fractions.